Kia ora, lovely Geminis out there. Thanks for joining me. This is your reading leading up to what feels like this lovely sort of dreamy new moon in Pisces on the 13th. So we're doing a shortened Celtic cross today. We'll go through, clarify some positions within that, and pull a journey map card and a Brian Frood Pixie and Fairy card at the end for a bit of light relief, possibly, if we need it. Okay, so we'll look at the central point first, the basis of this, what's past, where we're at, and moving forward. And remember that timelines or in relation to positions with this can be quite wiggly wobbly, not necessarily on a trajectory of sorts. So let's see for Geminis this week. Just a few cards for Gemini. We'll get the first few, have a bit of a chat about that, and go from there. So just a couple. There we go. Right. That was the basis. I don't know what they are yet, so it's a big surprise. Let's see. The central point. Oh, wow. This is pretty good. Yeah, I'm a Gemini, so that's fine. We get a 10 of Wands. It's the end of a cycle, and all the 10s present themselves in our material world. They're in total. It's like a fruit that's like this 10 of Wands, which traditionally is often like a heavy burden. You can't really take any more, but you know, I kind of liken it to a fruit that's it's on that verge of ripeness, that it's on its way out. This is that exactly. It's you know, as a wand, you could say, well, it's a burden of will, something to do with our will and the changing tides, and as things change, you know, and we let things go that we need to let go of. Oh my God, Gemini. So we're obviously at the central point in this reading. Today we're at the end of a cycle. There's like everywhere you look, there's overripe fruit, you could say. The 10 of Wands, crossing the 10 of Wands, we have the 10 of Swords. There's no, you know, you can only carry 10 Wands, and you can only really take 10 swords, and that's it. You've gone through the gamut of both suits, and you're ready to start again. That's totally for sure. So that's crossing. Interesting. This is really interesting and kind of exciting, because it does indicate that there's a whole new thing beginning here. The basis of this ending of cycles, beginning of new ones, we see the moon. You know, there are elements in our mind that aren't really conscious elements. The moon is about, you know, things being revealed, things being hidden, and of course we know the cyclical nature of the moon, and that the light that we see that shows us this planet, this moon, is reflected light. I mean, it's coming from the sun. So there's this sort of transmission or translation of sorts here. and those watery pools, you know. I think the moon came up in the last Gemini reading before the full moon, I think. But anyway, so we're in this whole new cycle, of which the basis of it is this moon, the cyclical nature of it, the cyclical nature of things rising and passing, in fact, and certain levels of awareness coming into our conscious mind, gives us more information, allows us more growth. All of that, it is the cyclical nature of life, as are beginnings and endings. Of cycles, Gemini. So let's see what's behind us. I'm a Gemini too. I'm not commiserating because this is quite interesting. Look, far too many cards. Sorry, Gemini. We'll just get grounded here, and a card for beautiful Gemini, please. Out there, what is recently behind Gemini at this current time? Wow, I don't think this is a reading for me. So we have the Lovers, traditionally a card of choice. We see this in the keeping in mind, and as I said earlier, like time and placement in this circular reading can be quite wibbly wobbly. So we see the Lovers. It's a card of look, in the most basic sense, people will read it as lovers, as marriage, as that kind of thing. To me, you know, beyond that, we look at this card as a card of duality, keeping in mind too, at this time, Mars has entered Gemini and will be there for till the 23rd of April. We're getting a little bit of delay there, but anyway, I'll keep going. So Mars is in Gemini till the 23rd of April. This is about expression. I digress slightly. This is expressing, you know, Mars, this sort of a very forceful, dynamic planet, very masculine, you could say. You know, expression, expressing opinion, ideas, all of that kind of thing, communication, assimilating dualities through this communication. That's why I bring up Mars and Gemini, because the Lovers is about dualities. It's about synthesizing and balancing out and joining those sort of dualities of human nature, of life, of this planet, finding a balance in that, presided over by, in this particular card, the Hermit. Observes the exchange of you know, sacred vows, as it were. What could be more sacred than a kind of synthesis of dualities, you know? So this is another element of the Lover's card. Well, that is the primary element in my mind. Anyway, let's keep moving forward, Geminis. So that's behind you. An understanding, I would always take it back to the individual and say, well, this is, you know, it's an understanding that we have come to within ourselves, maybe. As I said that, we get the Hierophant a card of esoteric information, of a spiritual. I'm not talking religion as a whole different kettle of fish. We're talking spiritual downloads, information that is personal to you and to you alone. Intrinsically, it is for you and your process and synthesis of this information. I think there has been, if we get the beautiful Hierophant coming out just there with the Lovers, it's pretty, it's big jobs, it's big work. Right, let's keep going. Current position, please, for beautiful Gemini at this time. When we see this sort of ending of a cycle, clearly there's a beginning of a new one. Yes. Here we see the Eight of Discs in the current position. This is a card of craftsmanship, perfecting, working at something over and over and over again until you are happy with the outcome of it. And that outcome we see in this card, in the little flowers here, and how they're protected by the foliage, by the leaves. In its burgeoning early stages, we protect this product of our work, of our hard work. Now this is, we see this, the Eight of Discs, so we see it in the material world. The eights are all a mind card. So we see there's been a lot of really driven sort of mental focus in this card, which is in the current position at this time. Wow, so we will go back and clarify some of these. Moving forward for Gemini today, please. Leading up to this, what is a dreamy, really dreamy kind of time, and a great time to, if you can, allow yourself, allow your imagination to flow, fantasies to flow, grow. You know, it's good for the soul sometimes. Of course, there's the escapist elements involved, but just forget about those for now, I think. There seems to be a climate of you know, anything's sort of possible. Okay, gems, let's get something moving forward. We're getting a little bit dark here. Moving forward for Gemini, what seems to be a great injection of information for you, for yourself, but it has been obviously filtered osmotically outward to other people. This is about this is a gift of rebalance, in fact, is what I'm getting here, is what I'm hearing. A gift of rebalancing. So the cards are quite stubborn. Just one card, please, for Gemini. Fantastic. And this is looking at things in a really, when we see the card of focus and really directed focus here. Moving forward, we get not only, and these could be aspects of yourself, Gemini. I usually always think of it like that, but they can also be other people, other personalities in your life, and beyond gender and all that kind of thing. So with that Eight of Discs, focused work, there's a combination of the practical and the metaphysical in this reading. But anyway, so with that 8 of discs work, mastery, we have this Knight of Swords. Now, the Knight of Swords is so driven and focused and has a target, and that's what he goes towards. And the thing is, he goes towards it really fast. The mind is, what am I thinking? The mind is quicker than the mind is far quicker than, you know, what we can achieve a lot mentally. I don't know, you know, the difference between mind and actual physically doing something. We can go on a journey. We can go on gazillion, million different journeys, traversing Alps and whatever else in our mind, speaking of allowing the imagination to flow. And it's a lot faster, but this knight is fast. He's propelled, he's got a propeller on his head. He's fast, but he also knows where he's going. Now, with that, at the same time, we get the Knight of Discs. For some reason, there's a time thing here. The Knight of Discs is a very Saturnian card. He has chipped away, worked away, plugged away. He's kept going and going and going to achieve whatever it is. And at the same time, he manages that. He doesn't really run out of energy. It's a very Saturnian card. It is, the time is, I'd say, an issue in this card. I don't know what I'm getting here, actually. And yet time has just sped up. I mean, I must say lately, it does feel like, things are speeding up, and you know, it's probably makes sense. But moving forward, yes, so we've got these 2 knights. One is completely targeted, focused. This guy can't get there fast enough. This one, or goddess, this one is happy to chip away and manage as he goes along, because it's about management as well. It's about management. There's peripheral things going on here. I don't know, yeah. There are peripheral things. It's one thing to go for your target, but it's another thing to just chip away and manage what you can as you go along, because that's going to benefit you in the long run. That's just what I'm getting here, you know. Anyway, so let's go through. Of course, this is a new cycle we're looking at. We're looking at this falling away because it's a totally overripe fruit. It's too heavy to carry. We let it go. Excuse me. So let's clarify here a little bit, Geminis. Excuse me. Let's see. I'm kind of interested in, you know, the basis being the moon. We all know it's about cycles. We all know it's about, you know, unconscious mind, all of that. Discovering the, shining a light in the dark pools. Let's see. The basis here of getting rid of this, what is a new cycle, yeah. You know, you can't make it up. This card just jumped out. Wheel of Fortune, my friends. The moon, it is cycles. This is purely cycles. Yes, as I said, we all know about the cycles of the moon, the conscious, subconscious, superconscious mind. It is simply about cycles, and the wheel turns again because we are in this new cycle. What is this new cycle? I don't know, but it's a different one, that's for sure. When we have had this kind of download of sorts from the Hierophant in order to integrate some dualistic inherent nature within us, which seems pretty appropriate. Or if not within ourselves, though everything starts with ourselves, it filters out in terms of osmosis out into the world around us, into this world, this material world where we work. I'm not talking about going and working. I'm not talking about work comes in many forms, doesn't it, dear gems? Right. So we see it's the natural wheel turning. Samsara turns, the Wheel of Fortune turns again. The Wheel of Fortune turns. I mean, it's a pretty amazing read. Let's just have a look at the 8. Oh my God. At the 8 of discs, we get the 8 of discs. Thank you. We get the 8 of discs. So we're really, as I said, work comes in many forms, and it's not necessarily going to work, getting paid, coming home. It's not necessarily this kind of work here, Gemini. That's interesting. Okay, so can I have one more for the 8 of Wands, 8 of discs, twice. Yeah, this is sort of outer work. I mean, I'm talking outer, inner. This is as much outer work as it is internal work, if you so choose to go along with that, dear gems, to get some clarity on those 2 8s, which we'll leave it at that now. We get the 10 of Swords again, which is our central point in this reading, and we get the King of Swords, very much a Gemini card, the King, the Queen of Swords. It is you. You're basically cutting this. Just, that's it. As we see, it is the end of this. It's the end of this cycle. It could have been any cycle, right? It's not just because there are swords in it and wands. It could have been any cycle, but it is just in its own organic way the ending of it. It's really good because it makes room. It makes room for other things. It makes room for I think there's a reinvigoration here of integrating aspects of yourself, Geminis, if that makes sense for you. This is what we get from the table. It is integration, and that is as it should be. We get the Justice coming out, another one-sworded keeper of the scales, I guess. This is all about balance. It's all about balance in our lives. Balancing how we do, what we do, and what we choose to energetically invest in as well. This is really interesting. Okay, so let's get a journey map card. A journey map card, please, for Geminis today. Right, let's see. Oh, wow. Look, I love this. So we see this little child, look, whose cells are just going hell for leather, bursting with growth in such an astronomically hard to quantify way, you know, hard to quantify the speed at which this child is growing. The other aspect clearly of this card is, you know, as I say, how we're using our energetic sort of connections with ourselves and with others. We're gauging what, you know, what's good for us, what's not, what's good for others, what's not, or you know what I mean. So these energetic threads, these thought forms, this card is called imaging. Our imagination is a wonderful tool. It's a wonderful tool. It's planting of seeds. The smallest thing, a number, a colour, a shape, a thought, a word is the beginnings. And in this card we see this wee egg very much supported. It's got everything around it. The power of imaging, of the imagination, is really, sometimes underrated. So this, you know, this amazing ability to visualize, I suppose, is the other side of it. That which we want to bring into fruition, bring into the material world. It's sort of like here, in some ways, we're at a point, it feels like, in this reading where you know, it's like being sort of at a crossroads of sorts, where we know we're starting a new cycle, but we just don't, you know, the whole thing of it is that we don't see necessarily, because of course we don't necessarily see where this new cycle will be taking us. I do get a thing with these two cards that that's something about hard, consistent work from the past is going to actually, in this Saturnian night, consistent work in the past is actually going to accelerate your movement forward. Now, who knows the specifics of that, but that's what I get from that position. So let's just get a little pixie and fairy for a little bit of icing on top of the cake. This new cycle, yeah, this new cycle that we don't, you know, we venture into it because this is what it's all about. Life, that is, the singer of courage. Exactly, we need courage, and so we venture forward. Another spin, another spin on the wheel. But this time round, we've actually rebalanced and resynthesized ourselves in not just psychologically. But this is come into this dualistic synthesis, has come into the dualistic Gemini on a cellular level. This is big, as I said before, big stuff. So exciting, Gemini. And of course it requires courage to keep going, but we have that. Look, we get what we get. But thank you so much for joining me today here at the Lightroom forecast. And the time and tides for the new moon in Pisces should be up later today. It is a really dreamy time. So I hope you're taking full advantage of it. And thanks for joining me. All right, Geminis, see you again. Cheerio.